Aloha, folks, and welcome to this latest edition of Five Questions, a conversation that appears right here on News Radio 830 KHVH and also with HawaiiReporter.com. Log on today and every day to HawaiiReporter.com for 5 questions and more. Today it's a pleasure. We get together with Mr. Darryl Vincent, representing U.S.Vets, an organization not only here in Honolulu and also in other locations in Waianae, but also throughout the country. And first of all, Darryl, thanks so very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, sir.
It is 5 questions, and it's pretty straightforward. So I'd like to start with question number 1, and that is, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself and also the organization.
Sure. My name's Darryl Vincent. I've been living in Hawaii for the last 20 years, working for U.S.Vets for the last 8 years. A native New Yorker, but after being in the military and graduating college and coming out here to visit my mother, who retired Army, Hawaii became my home once my career took off and I started a family. So Hawaii's been my home for 20 years, and I'm glad that it's here, and I love being here. The organization's been actually in existence in Hawaii since 2002. The homeless program opened up in 2003, and we've served over 1,700 formerly homeless veterans, literally taking them from the street and putting them in a bed and working towards independence.
It's we talked previously in another time, and the influence of family in decisions that we make as young adults are profound. Tell us about how influential your mother was in helping guide you to where you are today.
Yes, sir. My mother's a retired Army. My dad also served in the Army, but he used that to pay for college. But my mother was a social worker. So when I came to Hawaii and worked, after getting out of the military, I really was working in the restaurant business, and she got me involved in the community. So you need to give back. And because of that involvement in the community, it became a passion of mine to say, this is something I would like to do the rest of my life. So I went back to school and got educated from the professional sense, and still had the informal sense from her to say, this is not only something that I want to do, it's something I'm supposed to be doing. Everyone should be giving back. And the fact that I can have a job and earn a living doing it just makes it that much better.
Excellent. This is 5 questions, but just to follow up on the first one, and that is U.S.Vets. Can you tell us where we can find you? Where are you physically located?
Sure.
And how can we contact you?
We're physically located on Barbers Point. Literally, come out, make a right on Shangri-La Avenue. We're there. We have 3 buildings out there. One's for the homeless program, and 2 is for independent living, guys renting studios like any other person rents in the community. Our website is www.usvetsinc.org, and you can call us at 682-9000. Those are the main numbers that you can reach us, so we can guide you to other things that we do as well.
Question number 2 for 5 questions, Darryl, would be, can you help us understand the challenges that U.S. veterans face today, and also if you can quantify the problem that we have with homeless veterans here in Hawaii today?
Sure. In general, homelessness in general, veterans or non-veterans, is due to poverty, lack of affordable housing, substance abuse, and mental health merely exacerbate those conditions. Veterans get out of the military and have a couple of different unique situations. Is one, they're taught to be soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. Sometimes asking for help is not the first thing on our plate. Say, I want to ask for help. We know how to survive. So, things will get better. Things will get better. I'll keep surviving. I'll survive. It'll get better. Not knowing what services out there, where U.S.Vets falls in, is our job to make sure people are aware of those services. We would say in the past, we were working more with Vietnam War veterans who at that time were not necessarily treated with reverence when they came back from the war compared to the people coming back now. So therefore, they weren't getting the services they needed to, and now we're seeing a direct correlation of where they ended up because of that. Well, the VA and ourselves included in the community, the world's changed. They're getting us a lot of services out there now. So it's our job to make sure that these veterans that are coming back from the war, or just getting out of the military in general, these are the things that you can be afforded to if you run into trouble, even if you do not run into trouble. These are the services that you have. A lot of veterans don't even know they're veterans. If you would have told me 10 years ago, are you a veteran, Darryl, I would have said no, because I thought it was somebody who spent 20 years in or went to combat.
Good point.
So we ask, have you ever served in the military? And that allows us to qualify, hey, you have some services out there. So they have some unique situations of just adapting to civilian life. Not that they don't know how, but sometimes it's a transition and things do not become prevalent until months later, whether it be a mental health condition or a physical ailment, or just not knowing how to transfer their military skills from being an infantryman.
Right.
What do you do to make that a civilian? And we help people do that.
Just from your standpoint as a society, do we do enough to help with that transition? Are we making that path back home clear and accessible?
I would have to say today we've had more community support than we ever had. People are able to separate the war from the veteran. Whether you agree or do not agree, we all agree that they're sacrificing for us, and we need to be able to treat that with some sort of reverence and be able to give back to them. So the community, I think, has given good support. What has to happen is the transition between active duty and once you're out has to become better, and that's where we believe we come in.
Right.
That's where we believe we come in. And a lot of times it has to do with just the veteran themselves knowing what's available, and sometimes those things don't pop up until months later. You're not even thinking about it. All of a sudden you're sitting there having a mental health condition or anxiety and you don't know why.
Right.
So our job is to do things like this, to say, don't hide. Do not feel it's embarrassing to ask for help. There's some things out there that can help you out, and the VA has a plethora of services now for the veterans that are coming out.
Can you tell us the telephone number, contact number again, please?
682-9000. USVetsInc.org is our website, and also patriotrun.hawaii.com is also for our event that's coming up on next Friday.
Excellent. Question number 3 has to do, and this might be an obvious question, but you mentioned the Vietnam War veteran with the end of the war in the early 70s, and now we're in the early 2000s. The aging of the Vietnam veteran. What have you seen as far as our Vietnam vets age? Do their issues become more profound? Are you finding that there is even an uptick because of this? Can you help describe the Vietnam vet?
Sure. The Vietnam vet, usually when they came back, some of them or most of them did not access the care that either was available or it wasn't available. A drug addiction, mental health that wasn't diagnosed. We're talking years ago where we've gone light years in terms of diagnosing and being able to identify someone that has a condition. So we saw a direct correlation when U.S. Vets opened up in 1992, all the way up to about 4 or 5 years ago, I would say. The median age was 57, 58. These are guys who were in the military during that time frame, and for whatever reason, not placing blame on anyone, not placing blame on community, society, or themselves, were not accessing care. So obviously the condition got worse. Instead of being homeless, you become chronically homeless. Instead of being mentally ill, you're severely mentally ill now. You're unmedicated. Instead of just being an abuser, you're dependent on drugs now. So yes, we saw it just become worse and worse, where end up in programs where we start knocking those things down. Okay, let's start talking about these issues. Let's start treating it. And we've been very successful. 70% successful with guys that come in our program, or women that come in our program will move on to some sort of housing when they leave our program. They stay clean and sober while they're in our program. 85% stay sober while they're in their program at the time of discharge. And we don't take credit for that as staff. We don't even take credit for that as an organization. Who does it is the veteran. The veterans themselves working together in one cohesive unit, just like they did in the military, allows them to be successful. So the Vietnam veteran guy definitely is the one that we've been focused on in the past, but now we're seeing the younger guys come back.
And with that youth and with the greater presence of women in the United States military, are you seeing what proportionate number as far as men and women that are using your service?
In our program, we serve, I think right now we have 6 women out of the 100 that are in our program.
I see.
Our Long Beach program and other programs have women-specific programs. So we have a women-specific program in Long Beach that serves 35 women at any given time dealing with sexual abuse and or drug addiction. Our philosophy is, if we were to get the funding, which we would like to secure at some point, is if you build it, they will come. Do I think it's more out there? Definitely. But women have some other conditions that we need to treat separately, that you don't want to just integrate into a program that's 95% men. So we've had our druthers. We would have a separate standalone program for women veterans, and I think if we had that, we would see more. So yes, I think it's an increase. Women veterans obviously are serving side by side with men veterans, and we need to know that they're going to have the same kind of issues that the men have, if not more.
It seems, in question number 4 for Darryl is that of U.S. Vets, is that veterans issues, veterans affairs is a priority, at least from the standpoint that it's a cabinet position, first of all, in the administration. I guess what I'm really searching for is the relationship between government and also the mission that you have. And by extension, government being a representation of the people of our country and locally as well. Can you give us your assessment of that level of support?
Sure. The Department of Veteran Affairs with us has the unique position of being our number one funder as well as our number one partner. They are on our site and have an office at our location every day. Any veteran that comes in our program must be screened with the VA and our outreach team. So we have a very collaborative, I talk to the VA every day, literally. Every day we collaborate either about veterans, about community involvement. We had a veteran kickoff a campaign yesterday at Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities got awarded a grant to help veteran families. All the people came out to talk about how we can make sure we have all these resources. Secretary Shinseki was at our site 3 or 4 months ago. Senator Akaka, Senator Noy, Representative Hanabusa, and Secretary Donovan Ahud were at our site a month ago. And it was all centered around everyone understanding that all the way from the President of the United States to the veteran just getting out of the military have a shared responsibility with this shared problem. We think all of us agree that it's criminal that a veteran can serve his country and come back and not have a place to stay.
Amen to that. Very much so. We're coming down to the final questions for our segment and talking with Darryl Vincent of U.S.Vets. And if you are interested in learning more, Darryl, the information again, please contact.
Sure. USVetsInc.org, and also our phone number is 682-9000, and one more website is www.patriotrunhawaii.com. That's for our event coming up this next November 19th.
Let's go ahead and chat about that for a moment, if you wouldn't mind. Tell us all about it.
Sure. It's our 7th annual Patriot Run event. It's out at Iroquois Point, the waterfront at Palua, and Hunt Development, our number one sponsors. And what we do is basically people come up for a 5K walk run. Even if you don't want to run it, you can walk it with your family. It's economical. I think it's $25 a runner. All the proceeds come to U.S. Vets to help homeless veterans. Last year we had close to 600 runners. We would love to someday be as big as the Aloha Run, to have people come out and run as units. But we'll take a small chunk right now and say, please help us out. Come out there and enjoy a day out here. And you'll see the veterans out there running themselves. At least 20 of our veterans will be in there, as well as our staff.
Excellent. Are you going to be putting on the shoes?
I will be working. I'm a Marine, so I don't want to have to show those skills.
I'll be monitoring the situation. Before we go, what I'd like to do, if you wouldn't mind, and this is, it's almost like asking who's your favorite child type of question, but to kind of personalize the work that you and U.S. Vets do, can you share with us a story that pertains to maybe one of your vets that had maybe come through your program from where they were at the beginning and then where they are now?
Thank you that I have. Usually I don't get asked that question that way, but I'm glad that's a very good question. And you made while you were questioning, saying, okay, who can I? And I immediately 10 people popped in brain and say,
excellent.
These are the ones. I worked at IHS in 2000 and 2003 before I came to U.S. Vets as a case manager and clinical supervisor. Some people that were on my caseload at IHS ended up being people that came to the program years later. I had a different role. So as case manager, I was more making sure they do what they have to do. I was working with them. And now as a director, I was making sure the program was running correctly. One veteran specifically, I remember being on my caseload at IHS that was not ready for change. And I was still in the mode of being a case manager and enforcing rules and saying, well, you're not ready. Well, you're not going to be able to do this, do A, B, C, and D. Well, he came to U.S. Vets. He remembered me. I remembered him. We gave each other, hey, how you doing? And we went right back into our old roles. Hey, let's get together. You got to get this done. Proud to say that not only did he go through the substance abuse program, has been clean 7 years now, but he also lives in the community. He's a federal police officer. He works at a gate carries arms to make sure people come into the gate. He's trusted. He didn't have a criminal background, so it's not a problem getting a job. He was an MP in the military. So that's a classic case of reconnecting somebody with their values that they had, getting over the substance abuse and homelessness, and now they're able to be a gainfully employed tax-paying citizen that you would never know going through the gate that he came to our program. And to this day, we're in touch with each other to this day. And that's a great story.
You know, it's a pleasure to talk with folks that are so committed to assisting others, but specifically assisting our vets. And I want to thank you very much for joining us for this edition of 5 Questions.
Yes, sir.
And as things progress, perhaps we can get together and do it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it again. I'm going to ask you, Darryl, one more time, any information that folks can contact you with if they'd like to contribute, if they'd like to volunteer, whatever that might be.
www.usvetsinc.org is our regular website, 682-9000. Give us a call. And for the Patriot Run, please go to www.patriotrunhawaii.com.
Darryl Vincent, folks. And Darryl, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.